Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Adam Simmons, and joining me today is none other than Andy. Andy, how are you doing on this fine Friday?
I'm very well, Adam. Very well indeed. Nice to chat to you. In fact, nice to see you early this week as well in sunny Jersey. And hello to everybody who's joining us now.
I've got a snitch on the island. It wasn't that sunny this week, Andy.
That's true. It wasn't that sunny. You missed the sun, I'm afraid. But apparently next week's going to be it's going to be really nice. When of course I'm not going to be here. But more on that. More on that a little bit. More on that a little bit later. Cool. Anything you want to chat about before we kick us off?
No, I think we dive right in. Try and do a concise space because
Yeah,
people always tell us that they prefer them being 30 minutes. So we need to try and hit that.
yeah. And
And
it's
we've
a
got a lot.
Friday.
It's a Friday. We've got
We have
lots to
got
get through. And I don't know about you, but I've got
yeah,
a lot to do after this as well before I can clock off.
yeah. Always,
So, well,
always. So let's start with numbers then. Give us a roundup of the numbers.
Well, it's been a while since we've had one of these spaces, so we had to cancel last week's one and move it to this week. So it's been 3 weeks, amazingly, which means the last time we did one of these, Radix Rewards wasn't out. We had only just started Hyperlane, and since then it's been going really quite well in many ways. So we had TVL peak at $9 million, and a big part of that was $3 million of assets. Well, actually over $3.4 million of Hyperlane assets have been minted, bridged over onto Radix. The total amount of bridged volume is higher than that because obviously some gets bridged back and forth for CFI to DeFi arbitrage and stuff like that. And most excitingly for me is that in XRD terms, or DeFi Llama, if you look at a chain's TVL, you can look at it in dollar terms or in its native tokens terms. So in XRD terms, TVL on Radix is basically the highest it's ever been, and it's been going up and up and up consistently since we've had Radix Rewards and Hyperlane out. So that is the kind of momentum that we want to be seeing.
Yeah, yeah. It's really good. It's really good.
And of course, that's led to all of the outcomes that we would expect and want, or most of them, in that daily transactions on chain have increased substantially. So we're seeing about 15k daily transactions now. That's about 5 times more than it was prior to this. We've seen DEX volume absolutely skyrocket as
Yeah,
well. So
I was
not
gonna
even.
say.
Oh, go on, Natty.
Oh, sorry, no, I was gonna say to talk about the Dex volumes because they've like 10x, haven't they?
Yeah, so generally speaking, we see about kind of 300k a week prior to this, and it's consistently over 3 million every single week, and that's
Yeah,
not including surge volume as well. And this is just a few weeks in. So more TVL, more capital, more liquidity in pools equals more trading, which equals more fees for those LPs, which means it's more desirable for LPs to come in, and you get that kind of virtuous cycle that we're running for. So overall, this is a big uptick in activity. Well done to everyone who's taking part so far. Also, massive shout out to like Octostellar, Shampoo, and a whole bunch of others for shipping update after update to Radix Rewards. So, like getting Surge
yeah,
in week 2. We've done the referral system that came out yesterday, but we'll talk on that more soon. So, yeah, in many ways, we've got some good momentum going.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it's over double what it was the quarter before. That's great news. So let's move on to some progress and updates. And look, we can't all that great news. Yeah, we can't not talk about the elephant in the room. You know, we've been flat out making improvements with PR, with Hyperlane. The launch event went really, really well. We were gaining the momentum that we expected. And do you want to talk us through what happened? What we saw?
Yeah, so obviously, pre last week, things were trending exactly as we were hoping to. So XRD price was trending upwards. It was steady momentum. TVL was going up, on-chain activity was going up, DEX volume was going up, volume on centralized exchanges was going up. Everything was going the direction we wanted. Last
Hmm.
week, there was a small correction towards the start of the week. And that's to be expected because I think we were seeing it like 30-40% up in the week. So it's usually at that point that you might see a little bit of a correction in the market, even in a sustained uptrend. Now, that in itself isn't what caused the sudden shock. What caused the sudden shock was, unfortunately, there was a account that had a large amount of XRD and participating in the incentives campaign that had done something called looping. So looping is basically where you say take your XRD, deposit into a lending platform, use that to borrow, say, USDC. You use that USDC to buy more XRD, which you then deposit back into the lending protocol to borrow more USDC, to keep looping that process over and over again. And so in many ways, it's like it's effectively creating leverage on what you're doing. Now, while that's a great way to get leverage, leverage is a dangerous thing. It can do very, very well or very, very badly, very, very quickly. And so you always need to be careful of what's known as like the liquidation price and your kind of loan health on those, because price movements can impact that quickly. And what we saw happen last week is after that small correction, it basically caused that account that was looping with a large amount of XRD to have their kind of first time round on that loop liquidated, which then, of course, because that goes and sells on-chain on the dexes, pushes the price down more, which then caused their next loop to get liquidated, and you have what's known as a liquidation cascade. And so that's what caused that really big price crash last week, which bluntly wiped out a lot of our momentum that we'd got there, pretty much all of it, which was incredibly frustrating to see. But it is one of those things. The lending markets handled it really well, so Weft and Root
they did,
jumped on it.
Yeah, full credit to them for what they did.
And so the system worked as intended. It's been the lending dApps have reduced their loan to value ratio slightly and how much you can borrow using XRD to help prevent that in the future. But obviously it's a big hit. It was really frustrating and disappointing considering we had such good momentum. What is good to see though is that that's kind of stabilized out, and what we're seeing is that this does stabilize. If it wasn't for that shock, we would still be in a very strong position off the back of that launch. And so we're looking to get back to that. And we've got some great stuff coming in to do that. And we're also, as well as working with kind of like Weft and Root to look at how to manage those situations more in the future. Also looking at releasing some like guides for people on common DeFi activities. So literally getting one out probably early next week around what is looping, how does looping work, what are the risks of looping, what have you got to look out for, because it's a legitimate, effective strategy to take on more risk to potentially get more opportunity, but that is a case of taking on more risk, and people need to understand that and manage it. We're also looking at ones around like concentrated liquidity pools and how they offer advantages, but also have downsides and risks to them as well, depending on how you manage them. And so we're looking to put more of those out as well.
Cool. Thanks for that. And the thing that's been a pain in my backside for at least 6 months, and I bug you about relentlessly. Tell us about Arculus.
Yeah, so again, the sheer rate that things are getting shipped is staggering at the moment, but also really good news. So what we're seeing is that we've got Arculus now as a single factor source. So those of you who don't know about Arculus, about 18 months ago or so, we announced that we were going to be having Arculus card as one of the factors to be used in the Radix wallet, specifically as part of multi-factor authentication. Which we'll touch on in a little bit too. But essentially an Arculus card is a credit card looking thing with an NFC chip in it and some other clever internals beyond just a simple read NFC chip. And what you can do with that is you can use that similar how you do as a ledger. It's a hardware factor where if you want to sign a transaction, you have to tap it to approve that transaction. And when MFA was postponed, we obviously didn't move forward with that at the moment, but the wallet team have been cracking on since then. The user experience of Arculus is great. And so we've actually now, or a couple of weeks ago now, released a wallet update that means you can now use an Arculus card as a single factor for creating and signing transactions on accounts in your Radix wallet. Now, that's first step of that. The other step, of course, is that we've got branded Arculus cards coming. So these were teased at the same time we announced that we were working with Arculus. And these are nearly ready to go. We're just setting up fulfillment and shipping.
I still haven't got this pallet load that you promised me. I still haven't got this pallet load outside that you promised me, like on Monday. Because I wanted to take some away with me, and they're still not there, Adam. When am I going to get my pallet of Arculus cards to give away?
So I don't know exactly is the answer because I'm at the mercy of transatlantic shipping. But the Arculus team are, as you say, going to be shipping some out to the foundation offices so that we can do some giveaways with them. A little sneaky hint on that, and promotional stuff with that. And also at the same time, they're setting up their fulfillment to be able to buy them straight from the Arculus store as the Radix branded ones as like initially a limited exclusive run to see demand, but that should be coming in the next week or two.
Great stuff. And I've got to admit, Gennady and the team, the wallet team, pushed that update out, and I was trying to add another account to my wallet via a ledger, and I'm like, it's gone. It's what's happened. There's a bug, and of course, it wasn't a bug. It added a feature, and I didn't even know it was out. It's on the next screen. So if anybody's doing that and has the same experience I had, you just need to click to the next screen, and you can pick it from there. So yeah, even I hadn't realised he'd shipped it. I knew they were working on it, but I didn't realise it was out. So it's great work from those guys.
Yeah, the entire dev team is absolutely cooking right now. As the kids would say, there's stuff coming out very, very quickly, and it's going well. And talking of things coming out quickly, of course, there's been more upgrades to Radix Rewards since it launched less than 3 weeks ago. So this week, at the start of last week, we launched support for trading on Surge to be included. So that's all gone very, very smoothly. Yep. We saw a big uptick in the amount of traded volume on Surge. Of course, the leading perpetuals DEX on Radix. They did some cool stuff there as well. So Surge decreased their trading fees for some of their pairs, and it's really good to see that getting picked up. They've also got some great yields available as well. Obviously, there's risk supplying LP to a perpetuals DEX, but yeah, they've had some great yields during this period as well, which is basically taking the other side of a position. And then the big one yesterday that I think caught a lot of people from surprise was one of the things we've heard since we launched Radix Rewards was, hey, we want referrals. Can I refer people? Are there referral bonuses, etc., etc.? We started looking at that pretty damn quickly, and I was a bit mean. I underpromised and made sure that we over-delivered and said that it's something we were looking at. There was quite a bit to it, but Octo, Stella, and the team jumped on that, and we got the first version of referrals out yesterday.
Yeah, I saw that. Great.
So on referrals, if you go onto the Radix Rewards dashboard, so incentives.radixdlt.com, connect up your account. Currently, it is on the leaderboard page. We're aware that there's a few other places we can put that in, and so we're doing some more tweaks to the UI to make that look even better and find it easier. But basically, scroll down there, you'll see your referral code with a little copy button next to it. You can copy that, and then if you share that code and another user signs up with that, any season points that user earns, you will earn an additional 5% on. So they don't lose anything. They don't get any downside to it. But if they sign up from your link, you get 5% of all of the points an additional 5% points for anything they earn. So that can really ramp up the amount of points you earn and adds a kind of this social element into it. And it's also something that we're looking to expand upon over time to add more things to that as we continue to develop the campaign.
Yeah, and it's one of the key things that we're driving towards, isn't it? Getting more people in the Radix network, so people are getting rewarded via this for bringing more people in. So I'm delighted that you managed to get that out.
I can't take the credit. That was all Octo and Stella doing that. I just basically said what we needed, and they cracked on with it.
Yeah, and MFA. Tell us a bit more about MFA.
Yeah, so this was probably an even bigger surprise for people. I will be honest, it was also a bit of a surprise to me when...
Yes, because we were told this was going to be 8 months, weren't we, previously? 8 months to a year.
Yeah, without saying too much, it was meant to be a Babylon launch feature.
Yes, indeed.
And then we'll let history remember what occurred after that. But yes. Yeah, at the start of the year, it was also meant to be hard shipped at the end of last year, and then got delayed again. And obviously, as part of the restructure that went through, we unfortunately had to sit there and say, okay, we're pausing this at the moment, as we were told that it was going to be at least another 6 months and like $500,000 worth of development to get it out and get it working. So about a month ago, Gennady was like, hey, we've been chatting. Now we've got Arculus sorted and that's in kind of production flow. We think MFA would be a really good thing to add next. And we think we can do it a lot quicker. And there was a whole bunch of stuff around that where kind of in a phased rollout, taking out some of the quality of life features and nice to haves from there meant that they believed that they could get it in a far quicker position. So yeah, we're cracking on with that now. It's going to be in 3 phases. So MFA, even though everything that enables MFA is already available on chain, it is already things you can use like the access controller, is there, is being utilized. It doesn't have a nice UX portion in the wallet.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what you've got to do. Now, actually setting up that access controller does mean that you're altering how you access your account, sign your transactions, recover your account, and things like that. And while it's all on chain, we need to make sure that that all works as intended, is thoroughly tested, and is intuitive to use. So we're going to be rolling out MFA in 3 phases on StokeNet. You can read the blog post around that to learn more about those phases. Not going to give you dates on when they're coming. All I'd say is phase 1 is going to happen probably sooner than people expect. Once it's been on StokeNet and we've got all 3 phases out, we've found any kind of edge cases or any challenges with that, then we'll roll it out onto mainnet. And so, yeah, massive congratulations to Gennady and the rest of the wallet team for pushing through with that and the stuff they're doing, because it's really exciting. It's a really cool feature. It's one of these things that really resonates with the wider audience and the broader, even outside of crypto space, that not needing seed phrases and having other ways to control access to your account securely without needing a custodian is a massive piece and a really unique selling point of Radix. So I'm super looking forward to that.
Yeah, me too. We've been promising it for a long time, so that's great. Let's touch on Hyperscale now. Plenty of people have been asking for updates on that, and I think you can probably give us a bit of an insight as to where we've got to thus far.
Yeah, so obviously Dan had been working on this up until basically the weekend the news came out.
The day he passed away,
yeah, literally the day he passed away, he had been making updates to the code. So it was still on his local machine. And so because we had to essentially treat this as source code, the only copy of things had been changed there, even though a lot of it had been made open source, that we didn't have a complete view of all the things that had been, hadn't been, and whatever else. So we were treading very cautiously to make sure that we could secure this, back it up, make sure that it is in a scenario where we can share it securely, but also not have a single point of failure if anything goes wrong. So that has all been done now. At the same time, we obviously were looking at different options of how we could get this code reviewed as part of that kind of 3 phases that we spoke about shortly after Dan's passing. That phase 1 is really going, what is in this code? What is needed to spin up a test environment, something that Dan did himself and led on. What do we have all of this? Does someone understand it all? Can we get up to speed on that? And what's needed? That is currently getting kicked off. So we're doing that in 2 routes. The first is Dan worked closely with the University of California, Davis for about the last 6 years, if I'm correct, Andy. It was about 6 years, wasn't it?
Yep.
So Professor Stogie from their Exolabs team had a weekly call with Dan for the last 6 years, along with a bunch of his students and a bunch of others. And one of the really nice things was like even some of the past students kept joining those calls.
They graduated to professors now, and they're still joining.
So this is one of the routes that we're exploring with this, is that they very kindly offered to take a look over the code base, because they've worked extensively with Dan on the theory of Cerberus and with the Cassandra network. And even though they had a parallel integration or coding version of it that they use for their academic research that's different to a kind of a production network side, they're familiar with the theory. So they're one of the groups having a look at this. We also have started the process of sharing this with a few community members. I won't name them for their own sake, but Dan had shared this shared a lot of the code with these people historically, and we've started sharing that with them as well. So we've got a few parallel tracks to answer this kind of first question of what is needed to get a network spun up again and get this public test done. Then from there, we can actually start going around, okay, let's schedule this in, let's get this running, let's do some small group tests again, and then get back on the path to doing the large public scale test.
Yeah.
And so the next bit from that, Andy, which I'm going to hand over to you, is so like the other question around the hyperscale side is, well, how are things going with a new CTO, a new tech lead? What's kind of the process there?
Yeah, I mean, we've had a few initial conversations with people. They weren't an ideal fit. We've got additional sort of conversations to be had with people. I think you've got one next week. We've had a number of people reach out to us as well, but we're looking for somebody that's got the right skill set, but also the right sort of vision and dedication. Somebody that can not necessarily fill Dan's shoes, but carry on the work that Dan was doing. CTO hiring in this space, it's niche. It's going to take time, but we're progressing this in parallel with the hyperscale, and you never know what might come out. I'm in Singapore next week. I've got a number of meetings lined up with people from VCs to other projects. Thanks, I mentioned to Denise for setting a number of. In fact, she's still working on setting meetings up for me at the moment. I should do the same for you, actually, for Merge the week after. So yes, we are progressing conversations with a number of people. We haven't found somebody who fits just yet, but we're carrying on. We're carrying on with that. Does that answer your question?
It does, and I think the only bit that I'd add to that, Andy, is that as Dan pointed out, after the hyperscale test, it wasn't a case of this is just a Dan show of okay, Dan now works locked in a cave, working on this forevermore. Yes. Like it then starts going into production, and so as you start productionizing that, and it's more than a single person that requires multiple skill sets. So obviously there's the protocol architect side that Dan had the hat on. There's the CTO side. There's kind of the human side of managing the team and workload there. There's also people inside the foundation already who have experience on some of these bits and would need to have their input. There's also additional people that may be needed. And so when looking for a new person to kind of lead that side up, there's actually a couple of leads. And so it's not necessarily a case of just going, we just get one CTO who has to tick every single box. It's more going, actually, there's a management role, there's a tech lead role, there's a tech visionary role, there's a protocol side. And this could be one person. As it was with Dan, it could be a couple of people. Yeah. And we just need to really find the right people.
So if you know anybody, do forward them onto us.
You mentioned Token though, Andy. And you're
Oh yes, I did mention Token.
So why don't you talk a little bit about Token, because you're off there next week?
Yes. So yes, I'm going to Token next week. I was going with Dan, sadly, but yes, I'm still going. I've got a number of meetings already lined up for being there, and Denise is firing me stuff on Telegram and setting more meetings up. So thank you, Denise, for that. So yeah, looking to network with people, VCs, projects. Again, it's about my main objective from this one is about how do we grow our audience? How do we find new communities and community members and get people in? What are those bridges? What are those partnerships that we can leverage? And so that's really the focus of my visit there.
And as you say, Andy, it's also the sort of thing which the community can help so much with. So Denise has been helping setting up meetings.
Fabulous.
Constantine has been making introductions and connecting us with people for a long time. There's been other people as well in the ecosystem who I don't know if they'd want to be named. But again, this is the sort of thing where one of Radix's biggest strengths is the community that are very well connected, been around the space for a long time. If there are people who you think it would make sense for Andy or I to speak to, please make the introduction. It really helps. You never know who you may know or what opportunities might be there. So these are always really appreciated. And anyone who does have any of those, feel free to drop me a DM.
Cool. And speaking of bridges, do you like what I did then? Do you want to
Smooth.
tell us a little bit about what's coming on coming on with Hyperlane?
Yeah, so on the Hyperlane side, we are next going to be getting the Solana route up, and also so native Solana.
Nice.
So you'll have Sol to HSol on Radix, and then after that is, or probably at the same time as that actually, to be fair, we'll be looking at getting up the USDC from Solana to be HUSDC on Radix. So we've got the USDC route to and from Solana. Again, the good thing about Hyperlane is that means there's only HUSDC on Radix. It doesn't matter where it comes from. And then after that, we'll be looking at getting support for BNB. And we're also now looking at the best way to manage EXRD through Hyperlane as well.
Yeah, I was wondering if he was going to tease that. Yes, be great if we can actually get that done, and I have a feeling that we will. So maybe we'll touch on that in a couple of weeks' time.
And then just the final thing from my side on the foundation updates, Andy, is just the PR and marketing stuff. So we've had some good coverage since we last spoke. Well, at least last spoke on a Twitter space. We speak quite often. So Cointelegraph had an article out about this. We've had ads, which were credits left over from the RadQuest campaign go live on CoinGecko and also Brave. I went on a podcast a couple of weeks ago called Brave New Coin. That's up on YouTube. The other cool thing that we've started doing, and this is all thanks to Intern, is that we've been hosting some spaces and testing this out with people from some other projects. So about 2 weeks ago, I was on with the Chief Strategy Officer of Sonic. Of course, Sonic doing fantastic stuff, and an incentives campaign is a big part of what they're doing. So we had a really good chat around how on-chain incentives can work. They've just started their second season, and I think that was a great chat. And then literally yesterday, I had a chat with the product manager of Ready. So Ready is the wallet company formerly known as Argent. And again, doing some really cool things there. So these are just all great ways to have kind of some, I want to say, lower effort activities of just having a 30 minutes, hour spaces with these people. It helps pollinate mindshare. It helps get other communities aware of Radix, build networks, build relationships, and going nicely. So we're aiming to get some more of those set up as well. And on the CoinGecko and Brave side, we're seeing good engagement there. So a couple of million impressions on each of those since they went live. They'll be running for the next month or so. So building steadily, and just to kind of loop back for the community and for us, it obviously really sucks the kind of liquidation cascade we saw last week, because up until then we were really getting some good momentum. Obviously we all wanted to happen faster, but we were getting some good momentum and building on that. So we're still in the trenches, still pushing through on those things, and still keep going. And it's just a little bit frustrating. We had a bit of a knockback there.
Yeah. Can we move on to the ecosystem updates, because there's some cool ones there?
Yes. Do you want to hear off the first one, Andy?
Go on then. Astrolescent crossed 2 million bridge via Hyperlane, which I think from the 1st of Jan till now, 4.7 million in total Rocket Mayor Hyperlane combined.
Yeah,
excellent work.
I wouldn't be surprised if they have edged up very close to the 5 million mark since this data was taken, because that data was from a little while ago. So again,
so 12th, I think. Yeah.
Congratulations to Teeman and the rest of the Astrolescent team there.
Yeah, excellent work. And Weft?
Yep, Weft have also hit a milestone, so they now have $2.3 million of TVL. On their lending network. So again, another big milestone, more momentum coming through. Really good work to the WEF team there. And also, once again, great work to you guys on how you handled the situation last week with the cascading liquidations. Yes.
And the Radix Hub?
Yep, so Radix Hub, if people haven't tried this, I would highly recommend it. It's a mobile app, not necessarily, it's not a wallet, but it's for kind of getting all your news and all the things going on in Radix in a mobile app format. Users can now collect badges, they can do some daily quests, they can track their progress on the leaderboards, and it's got a whole bunch of more cool stuff coming. So highly recommend giving that a go if you haven't already. And what about Atos, Andy?
Yeah, they launched at the start of Radix Rewards. It's built by our very own Beam. Provides historical liquidity pool performance after impermanent loss. It's a great portfolio management tool. I like it. I like it a lot. Easy to use. You can pick your strategy, put your XRD and swap it for your assets. Click and evaluate. Click rather and execute your strategy. Really good stuff. I really like it.
And I know Beam's got some more plans on that as well. So all of these things are like the third layer of DeFi interactions, and anyone who was around in kind of the DeFi summer era will remember that a intuitive front end, so things like Atos Earn, like Lattice, like Shard Space, all of these sort of systems that simplify portfolio management, DeFi position management, become really important, because at a small scale, it's like just trading on a DEX, putting some liquidity in a DEX or something is not too much of a challenge. But things like looping, for example, can be automated. And these are the sort of things that you can have like different ways of leveraging different platforms to get better yields and stuff. So seeing these starting to come out on Radix is fantastic. And speaking of things that are fantastic on Radix, Surge as well. So I mentioned this earlier, so we'll just quickly touch on it. But they've had ultra low fees on their BTC trading pairs. So 0.01% fee on trading BTC perps at the moment. So definitely go and give that a go. The market always has fun around BTC, so that's a good way to get involved there. Radix Wiki as well have been helping organize Hack the South in South London, and projects like XRDGen, Shard Space, and Caper showcase some of their work there. So again, this is some grassroots efforts going on, and that is, of course, always very much appreciated. And again, something the community can do if there's meetups, not necessarily Radix specific ones, but more crypto general meetups. Feel free to attend. Go and talk to people. It's an exciting space. There's so much going on in DeFi, and go and make connections. And it's something the community can do easily that makes a big impact from those kind of word of mouth, one-to-one interactions.
Yeah, and I think probably lastly on that front, the Machinist and Felix. Do you want to?
So
touch on there.
As always, the Machinist has ran his Radix review weekly Friday night Twitter space. Also goes out on Spotify and other places. So if you haven't checked that out, do so. They hosted their most recent one last week. And one of the cool things I quite like them doing is they introduced me to the concept of a seed phrase game. So Machinist throughout the show would give like a couple of words of a seed phrase. Then a little later, a couple more words. Then a little later, a couple more words. And whoever basically got all of the words first could get the wallet with $20, $30 of XRD in it. But the thing I really liked the sound of, Andy, was the approach that Machinist had seen elsewhere, where rather than having XRD or the gas token of another network in that account has, say, not enough to pay gas, but like, I don't know, $20 of like HUSDC or something in there,
love it.
Some early or something like that.
Yeah.
Because then someone not only has to get that, someone has to send in some XRD to pay the gas to move it out of that wallet. Because obviously, if the seed phrase has been said, it's not secure. But then it's kind of like a fastest finger of who wants to send it in, who wants to send $1 in, because who's going to be first to use that dollar to send the funds to another account, which I thought was just a fun game. And also just a great way to drive engagement, which helps the algorithm spread your message further.
Yeah, that's great.
Well, we've gone slightly over time, Andy. Is there anything else on your list?
Okay. Real quick, last time I promised we'd get the unstaking from the Twin Stake and Brevin. It was more complicated for reasons I won't bore you with than I had realised, but it's all done now, save I think there's 4 lots of 44 XRD. But everything else is in the process of unstaking or unstaked. And I think also, I think everybody knows now that InstaBridge into Pass has been closed down, and that business is in the process of being wound up. They've done a fabulous job for community, but that has run its course. Now we've got trustless routes via Hyperlane. and other ways. So said farewell to those guys earlier today as they go and do other things, and I'm certainly sure we will see them in the not too distant, again, some of them at least, in the not too distant future. In fact, I've already got one meeting lined up, but I can't talk about that for probably another month. So yeah, those are my points. Yes, and you?
Awesome. Just from my side is that obviously we've been, as you let slip, Andy, I've been out in Jersey with you and John earlier this week. So we've got some exciting stuff that we've been working on there that we'll be sharing in due course. Andy is off to Token 2049 next week. So as anyone in the community, if you know people going, things or people we should be connecting with, ideally as well, just see if there's any like ultra late night parties that you can get Andy an invite to, and then he feels obligated to stay out till 4 a.m. before going to a 7 a.m. meeting.
How much I love doing that. Yeah, you know how much I love that. Not.
Oh, I know you've been getting up at that time, not going to bed at that time. So
yeah, get up at that time, yes.
But no, seriously, cool. If anyone does have any connections there or knows people going, do reach out. I'll be off at Merge Madrid with Aidan the week after. And again, thanks to the Community Council for organising that. I'll be speaking there as well, and already got some cool meetings coming in on that. And also on the staking point, Andy, of course, the thing that most people will be happy around, the two big things around the Brevin Howard and Twin Stake node having all of their stake removed is the network gets a little bit more decentralized because they were some chunky nodes. And so that means that there's 2 more slots in the top 100 list, and stake is more equally distributed, which is good for all those reasons around decentralization. But the one that realistically most people are going to care about is it should mean that we'll see the amount of APY from staking go up by about 1% next week.
Good.
Done.
Good for everybody. Great. All right. Yeah. Good to chat to you. And nice to speak to everybody out there. Hopefully, I might see somebody some of you in Token.
And as always, make sure that you share this space. It is recorded. It'll be live on YouTube and Spotify shortly. So make sure you share that there. And yeah, thank you very much. We'll see you all in 2 weeks.
Bye.